up, guys? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. This is season 2, episode 2. And girl, Jesse is messy. Jen might actually be a problem and might have a funny relationship with the truth. And girl, Taylor, you got to work therapy, therapy. Because that family of yours, you need therapy. All right, but let's get into this review. So y'all know sometimes before we get into the review, we get a little spicy just a little bit. And I just got a few things I want to talk to y'all about. So first up, let's talk about Jesse. So it's looking like Jesse and Demi are not friends, okay, right about now. Demi just did an interview with her husband. They were both on the Veil Files podcast, and basically she called out Jesse and Jen, and now you have Jesse along with Layla. They did an interview with Page Six, and she called Demi a bully and said that they will never be friends again. So, girl, shenanigans, mess and shenanigans. But let's get into it. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives star Jesse reveals bully Demi unforgivable act led to the end of their friendship. It goes on to say, it is no secret that the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives friendship is over. Jesse reveals her friendship with Demi is done for good after unforgivable behavior on the latter part. Jesse 32 asserts during the exclusive interview with Page Six, Virtual Reality T, that she will never be friends with Demi again, adding, and I'm a pretty forgiving person. It's a lot for me to say that. The Jay-Z style salon and hair extension co-founder is I think is resented to share more details about her fallout as she wants fans to see how it plays out in season 2 of the hit Hulu reality show. However, Jesse notes that Demi allegedly took an aim at her business and family, a combination that propelled her decision to sever their bond. It goes on to say, it says, it was a slow burn though. You'll see, like we were really close and then it kind of just naturally looked like things start coming out and you'll see the friendship start to break apart. She shares teasing that a mystery act in particular that led to the demise of the ladies' dynamic. And in real life, it's just getting worse and worse. It is said that Demi emerges as the villain in the sophomore installment of Mormon Wives, snatching the crown, or headband rather, from season 1 antagonist Whitney. I think each season, naturally, a new villain kind of will emerge and show themselves for sure, says cast member Layla, who joined Jesse during her chat with Virtual Reality T. So it goes on to say, Layla 24 now points out red flags that she was only able to see after bearing the brunt of Demi's her pertinent improprieties herself. Season 1, she was already kind of showing some characteristics that there were honestly borderline bullying in some scenarios, but we always kind of brushed it under the rug and we're like, oh, she's passionate, oh, she's funny, she explains, she does it in a funny way. That's for a long time. We all kind of was like, oh, it's just fine. Jesse concurs, also describing Demi as a bully, citing her treatment of Whitney 32 during a girls' trip to Park City, Utah that aired in season 1. Whitney was the victim of Demi's behavior and we hated Whitney, so we were like, go Demi. And if you watch it with new lens now, she was kind of bullying to Whitney and Park City. Jesse tells Virtual Reality T, and we now see it in more people's, ourselves included, so that's a characteristic. She includes Demi and Whitney have grown close, a development that feels predictable to both Jesse and Layla. It's very convenient. It's because they have no one else, says Jesse, who is on friendly terms with Whitney these days when the aspiring actress isn't hanging out with Demi. They said that's hard for me. I actually really like Whitney, but when she's with Demi, I just keep my distance. Layla is also keeping her distance from Demi, who apparently blitzed the young mom with a slew of insults that jeopardized her mental health. It goes on to say, I saw the behavior that she did towards Jesse, and it was multiple things. It's not like it was just the one thing that was like, well, we all hate Demi. It was a bunch of things that stacked up, and then the last thing she did is so damning that I couldn't just kind of turn a blind eye to that and act like it didn't happen. She divulges. And then when I did confront her about it, she flipped it on me and was saying mean things about me and name calling. I see her true colors, and unfortunately for me, my own mental health, I can't be around someone that makes me feel bad about myself. I'm gonna be honest, while reading that article, it just kind of made me roll my eyes a couple of times in my head, and you probably saw it on the video. But I'm just kind of like, I don't like when people do this. I don't like when all of a sudden you fall out with somebody and now you want to label them as a bully. It's the same thing that Jen is doing with Evelyn Lozado on Basketball Wives. Do I like Evelyn? Hell no. Okay? That is a colorist Latin lady. But now all of a sudden, Evelyn doesn't like black women, even though what she's saying to you about your husband, Jen, is correct. And I don't like when people dog whistle. And it feels like both Layla and Jesse are dog whistling by trying to put the moniker of bully on Demi. Okay? And I'm saying this as someone that has no favorites on this show. Okay, I'm really just watching this show because I think it's entertaining, but I don't like when people do that. Like you said in the article, it was okay when Demi was doing what she was doing towards Whitney, but now that it's being done to you, she's bullying. And now all of a sudden, like, I can see the forest from the trees. And I'm just like, I don't know about that, Jesse. You just proved in this episode you a messy lady. You are a messy lady, okay? So I'm like, were you messing with her? Did you do something messy and she got back at you and you just couldn't handle it? And I'm also looking at Layla. I don't know. Like, Layla's giving follower to me. The way that she was so, like, excited to be at Jesse's house and to be in Jesse's presence and was, like, was saying that, like, Dakota and Taylor need to grow up. And I'm like, Layla, we hardly even know what's going on with you and your ex-husband. Like, is he good at co-parenting? Or, like, what are you talking about telling people they need to grow up? You need to grow up. You don't even need to be in a relationship, but you are at 24 with 2 kids. Like, I don't know about this. I feel like the girls are going to start getting on my nerves, but I'm going to let it go. So next, I'm going to play this clip of Demi's interview with her husband. She did it with her husband, Brent, on the Veil Files, okay? She talks about something that went down on Vanderpump Villa. Trigger warning. She also discusses her feelings about Jesse and Jen.
To all the girls after Vanderpump Villa that I'd been groped, sexually assaulted.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. And I opened up to the girls and I asked them to not tell anyone. I told them that, you know, a couple of the girls were like, you need to like file against this guy. Like, if this were me, this is what I would do. And I was just like, guys, like, I need you to allow me to handle this the way that I want to handle it. And I just said, I need you to respect that I don't want to talk about this and I don't want to make it legal. I don't want all of everything that comes with making this legal on my plate right now with everything else going on. Like, I do not want this to become a thing. Please promise me you won't tell your husbands. Do not tell a soul. I think all but 2 weeks later, Jesse went on and went out to do Sheena's podcast and told Sheena. And I was like, you don't even know this person. Like, you don't even know Sheena. Like, why would you, in the first 5 minutes of knowing this person, tell her something that I've asked you not to tell her? And that was really hurtful for me. But I addressed it right away. And I'll give myself credit there. Like, I called her right away. The minute I found out about it, I called her. And
she will do anything to be famous. Period. The end. Full stop.
Correct.
Like, that is her number one priority in her life. How famous can I become? And I will... she's admitted that too. Yeah. So it's hard to navigate an authentic friendship.
And any of the ladies were
performing.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if you want me to call out specifics, but
that's entirely up to you. To me.
Yes, definitely with Jen. I feel like cameras come out and it's a performance.
Okay.
Which you would think that, like, Whitney, right, who's pursuing acting, that you would be like, oh, this is an act. Like, no.
No, I actually think Whitney can't help be Whitney.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
Yep, that's true. Jen is very performative. Everything was kind of an act. It was very much the slow blinking. She had it on tap. Like,
well, how is Jen in real life?
way more laid back.
Okay.
She's not as bold as she comes off on camera, if that makes sense. Like, if there's an issue, she'll be like, whoa, that was a miscommunication. Like, she's a little bit more, like, easygoing. But then cameras would come out, and all of a sudden, she's like this bold Jen that is, you know, willing to call anybody out and stand up to her mean husband. And it's like, sit down. That is where she got very performative, was with Zach.
What was your perception of Zach's portrayal on season 1?
I wasn't there when he was down in Las Vegas. I did see some of the text messages that he sent, which were disappointing. I also think that Jen put him in positions to make him kind of be the villain. The money that he was gambling with, his money, not Jen's money.
Okay.
100% his money. He had been supporting them. Like, he flipped a couple of houses. I think he made like $500,000 in the year leading up to shooting the show.
But then apparently she was the breadwinner.
It was just a bunch of nonsense. And Zach, trying to be a good husband, fell on the sword oftentimes. So I don't know. I'm sure, just like everybody, he wishes that he would have handled the initial Chippendale situation differently.
Oh, he's very regretful about that.
And I think he's grown a ton since then. He went and did some ketamine therapy. I think he's done a lot of self-reflecting and grown. So, yeah.
So first off, I want to say I hate that happened to Demi. Hopefully, whatever she needs to heal from that situation, she does. I have not watched that episode. I think the episode, I don't watch that show. I do not watch Vanderpump Villa, but I think it's either episode 2 or 3. It's also only on Hulu if you're interested in watching it. The guy was really like pressed to be around Demi. Like, you could tell he really liked her. But I do think it's messed up if she did in fact tell the women that she went with, like, do not tell anybody this. And then, you know, a week or so later, Jesse went and told Sheena. But if Demi is telling the truth, saying that, girl, I addressed it to her in that moment, then I think it kind of like, it is what it is. Like, you addressed it. Either you move on from it or you just distance yourself away from Jesse. But more and more, my theory, my opinion of Jesse is being more confirmed. Okay. It's being more like when Brent said she really wants fame, it is giving that. And then the thing about Jen. Now, I don't know. I feel like the way that they spoke about Zach, trying to make him seem like he's this amazing guy, I don't believe it. But after watching this episode of Jen, I was like, yeah, Jen, you do give that you like shapeshift into like a different person with different groups. It does give you have a funny relationship with the truth, girl. And that's concerning. It very much is. So this is going to be an interesting season the more I watch the episodes. But let's get into the review. So the episode opens up where it left off with the girls being at Miranda's house. It's happy hour. And she is basically getting interrogated by Macy, Michaela, and Taylor. Macy ends up asking her, girl, what was the purpose of you inviting us over here? And Michaela's like, yeah, because this is kind of weird. And then Taylor's just like, long end of the short of it, girl, we just want to know what your intentions are. Macy feels like Miranda doesn't have pure intentions. She feels as though, like, girl, you and your husband Chase villainized Taylor when it comes to this swinging situation, even though all of you guys were involved in it. So there's that. She also was like, you stopped talking to us for basically 2.5 years, almost 3 years. So now you want to come back. But I want them to be so for real right now, because y'all know Miranda is back because she's no longer with that man. She saw y'all getting a bag, so she want a bag too. And y'all should have known production was going to jump at the chance to have Miranda on this show. Another couple that was a part of the swinging scandal on this show, when basically this show was supposed to be about the couples that were a part of the soft swinging situation. Yeah, she was going to be a part of this group, whether y'all liked it or not. But I do understand them feeling some type of way, because it's like, girl, you didn't talk to us for almost 3 years. And now you want to come back and catch a bag like we did after our hard work season 1. I don't know if you deserve to be here. We might have to haze you, because that's what it's given at this point. Because Michaela has an attitude, because Whitney speaks up and she's like, you know what, I believe that you have good intentions. And Miranda's like, thank you, Whitney. And Michaela in her confessional is like, I don't really give a damn what Whitney has to say. I wish her and Michaela, I wish her and Miranda would just go away. And honestly, Michaela got a stank attitude, and I'm gonna need to start seeing Whitney do some things to justify Michaela's stank attitude. Don't get me wrong, Whitney was last season. But the way that Michaela is behaving, in my opinion, is annoying because it's like we haven't seen Miranda do anything to you. Whitney hasn't done anything to you like yet. Like Whitney's trying to figure out how to get herself back into the clique. So I don't know, maybe they want Whitney to grovel, and because Whitney's not doing that, Michaela got an attitude. And we haven't heard Michaela explain why she don't like Miranda other than she's so close to Taylor. But Taylor don't even seem to have like issues with Miranda the way the other women do. Like they seem more mad than Taylor. So the conversation continues with Miranda talking about how she was like, I want to fight for she was like, you know, when everything came out, I was trying to fight for my marriage. Like you came out and our next thing was like deny because we didn't want to be looked at like we didn't want to become pariahs of our community, pretty much. And so Taylor ends up getting kind of frustrated because she was like, I went through a lot. And Miranda's like, I went through a lot too, Taylor, after you posted that video. And I think that's one thing about Taylor that I kind of find that she is very self-centered at times, because it's like Taylor acts like everything is just happening to her. Nobody would have came at your neck if you didn't make that video. You were the one that took it upon yourself to out the whole soft swinging situation. So you should have mentally prepared yourself for the backlash that was coming. Not saying that you can prepare yourself for everything, but to act like, oh my gosh, nobody else got hurt is crazy when you outed like 5 other people, ma'am. Like you put everybody out on Front Street. So I do believe that Miranda and her husband got a lot of backlash from this soft swinging situation. And then you got on this show and a lot of people fell in love with you that didn't know about what happened. And now people are looking up Miranda and the other girl and probably coming at them crazy, okay? So the conversation continues and Miranda starts to like get emotional where she was just like, I lost a lot. I lost my husband and I lost my best friend. So then now Taylor is just kind of like, oh, well, I wasn't the only one. So now she tries to switch up like her energy. She also ends up telling Miranda, well, you thought I tried to take your husband or I was leading him on, and that wasn't the case. She was like, all I did was tell him about a dream. So basically, Taylor had a wet dream about Miranda's husband, Chase. She saw him at the gym, told him about the dream, and she didn't think anything of it because she was like, we were already deeply into our whole like soft swinging lifestyle. So she just thought he would laugh it off. Well, Chase took it upon himself to tell Taylor that he was in love with her. And Taylor ended up telling him, I don't want you like that. I'm flattered, but like, I'm good with the man I got over here. So then that is what kind of prompted Taylor to do that video where she told everybody about, the soft swinging. Because prior to that, all of a sudden, Miranda started to act funny towards Taylor. Probably Chase saying that Taylor came on to him or Taylor was leading him on just because he got his feelings hurt because she rejected him. So that prompted Taylor to do her video. You know what I mean? So she's just like, they're both kind of coming to the understanding that like, dang, we all kind of got hurt in this situation and we're both kind of taking our issues out on each other when we're both dealing with the same thing. So Taylor just says, I didn't realize that the girls had all this pent up resentment towards Miranda. And it seems like it's honestly because they're friends with me, but I'm willing to like move forward with Miranda. And she also then starts talking about Whitney and how she was like, I know how Whitney feels, where everybody on the internet is like kicking you when you're down. You're being lambasted by negative information. And then also you're pregnant. Whitney kind of starts to get emotional. And she like says, thank you, that Taylor actually had empathy for her because she didn't expect it from her. The other women are kind of like, okay, Taylor, like, because they still want no parts of Whitney. Demi says in her confessional she was actually really surprised at the fact that Miranda still wanted to be friends with Taylor. She was like, she didn't think Miranda would want to be friends with Taylor, but she was like, the fact that they were friends for so long, which she also didn't know, makes sense to her why Miranda now like still is longing for that friendship. So So at the end of the conversation, we end up seeing Jessie in her confessional basically saying she feels like nothing got resolved and they didn't really learn anything new when it comes to the whole swinging scandal. So she's kind of like, we have to get to the bottom of this. So Jessie, doing her first messy act of the episode, decides that she is going to throw a Halloween party and everybody is invited. And she's also going to invite Chase, which is Miranda's ex-husband, because he's also dating her friend Kate. And she pretty much feels like if all of them get into one space together, then they'll be able to decipher the truth. And I said, girl, you are messy. And you gonna bring all of this to your house? Girl, you like chaos and confusion. Okay, so the next thing we have is with Layla, Michaela, Demi, and Jessie. They're at like some cowboy shop getting boots. We find out that Layla got a mommy makeover. I said, girl, you're only 24. My God. Mommy, but she's had 2 kids, so I guess things didn't snap back. But she gets a mommy makeover. She's dating some guy named Cameron. He look way older than her, but I feel like it might be the mustache, to be honest. But she's like head over heels for him, like so in love. So she really likes him. We then see the girls like sitting down in the cowboy shop and they start talking about what happened at happy hour, and everyone's saying, yeah, it was kind of like weird, but it happened. They also start talking about Jen and Zach and how I think Taylor told Michaela that Zach is back in town and Jen actually is letting him stay with her. And so the girls are like, what, are you serious? They also are talking about how they feel like Zach hasn't changed. So they're all kind of gagged that she has allowed him to come back into the house, especially after what went down in Vegas and how angry and disrespectful and nasty he was to her about the Chippendale situation. So they are just kind of like, so why, like, what's she doing right now with him? So Michaela ends up saying that Jen is saying that they're doing a trial period of him staying with her and seeing if he's going to get better. And the girls pretty much said what I said last episode, was that you don't really know if someone has actually changed until they have actually learned from what they did. And it doesn't seem like Zach has really learned anything. He's saying somewhat the right things, but the behavior, like, is still there. It's still there. So Michaela said Jen just wants to test the waters for a bit. So that scene ends and we get a scene with 4 of the 3 of the husbands and Dakota. Okay. So Zach, Dakota, Brett, who is Demi's husband, and I did not catch the name of Jesse's husband, but they're going fishing. So while they're fishing, they're all talking about their relationships. Dakota's just like, I love this group, even though you can tell that these men do not hang out with each other because them going fishing is awkward, okay? Zach says he loves this group because they all know what he's going through, and he's just kind of like, yeah, like I needed a group of guys that I could talk about with this situation being on reality TV and then our wives being on Mom Talk. We get another confessional of Dakota crying, okay, about how bad he messed up, how he effed up, and how, it's been so hard navigating being a father without being in the house with my son. Has it? Because you can still be a father and not be in the house with your son. Okay, Dakota. He was like, I really messed up, but I have to make sure Taylor knows that she's my everything. I said, okay. We then find out that Taylor's mom and dad have invited him over to a family cookout or / family dinner so that they could talk about what happened between him and Taylor. So they then start talking about Zach and how Zach has been feeling about not, trying to get his marriage back with Jen. And he's like, yeah, it's kind of rough right now. We're doing ketamine treatment. And Britt is like, really? And he was like, yeah, we're just trying to get back to where we used to be and be better. But he was like, right now, I'm just trying to support Jen and everything that she does. Okay? Before I continue, I just want to say this. What do y'all get out of sending these men death threats? Like, Dakota ends up saying that, like, yeah, that happens all the time to me. Zach ends up saying he gets 50 to 10, where some people are telling him, you should just go die. I'm like, you should kill you. I'm like, are y'all serious? Are y'all serious? Like, this show is not that deep for y'all to be doing that. Do I like Zach? No, I don't like Dakota. I don't really particularly care for any of the husbands on this show. They all give creep vibes. But, like, I would never go out my way to contact these men and, like, DM them, like, telling them to off themselves. Like, this show is not that deep. And this is how, like, reality shows get ruined, because people start changing their behavior because they want that to stop, which is a like normal response to that. But also we stop getting good reality TV like talent and personalities because they don't want to have to deal with being harassed. If you're doing that, you're a weirdo. And you should seek help, because how would you like it if somebody sent you 50 or 100 messages telling you to off yourself? Girl, what? Crazy. Madness. So the next scene we have, which I thought, I was actually surprised that it happened so quickly, was Zach, Demi, and Jesse. Okay, so Zach gets to the coffee shop first, and then we see Demi and Jesse in the car heading there. They're both talking about how nervous they are to go see Zach. You can tell that Zach is nervous, and he low-key is scared. He was in the confessional looking like somebody that just got in trouble in class and got sent to the principal's office. But he says, you know, both Demi and Jesse are very aggressive, and he also was like, they've been spreading lies and rumors about me, so I don't really know how this conversation is gonna go. So they get to the coffee shop, they see him, it's awkward as hell. They sit down, and he tries to get straight to the point. He basically says, the way that I behaved in Las Vegas was horrible, you know, and I really said some really hurtful things to Jen, and I'm gonna have to live with that for the rest of my life, especially with it being on camera. You know, how can I say that she lacks morals and all of these things, and she's not a good person, and yet I'm down at the casino gambling? You know, like, I should not have gotten that upset about Chippendales. And I'm like, that's the insecurities of Zach, because my thing about it is like, honestly, most like entertainers who are like strippers, whether they're male or female, they normally play for a different team. Like, most of the strippers, the female strippers I've met have been gay. You know, like, they don't be wanting the men that they dance with. Same with the men that are strippers. They are gay too. So I'm just kind of like, why? Like, you shouldn't care. They have, like, it's a job. They dancing, shaking, shimmying, and then they going back to do, it's a 9 to 5 for them. They don't really want anybody that they're dancing for, or like I just don't get when people get mad at strippers, because I'm just like, that's their job. They're doing a service. Let's move on. So he was like, yeah, it was a lot. He then goes on to say that, like, he is sorry for what he said about Demi, and but then he also said that it was a lot to hear her talk so negatively about him. He was like, dang, you like really came hard on me. So then Demi was like, honestly, I was just calling out the behavior, that's all. Like, I was not just out going out of my way to talk bad about you, and we're only reacting to what was being told to us. Okay, so then Zach ends up saying, I just don't want to throw Jen underneath the bus, because, you know, I do want to take accountability for my action, but it seems like you guys have only gotten her perspective of the situation. Because then Demi and Jesse end up saying, like, we only are saying these things about you because of what because of what Jen has told us about you. And so they ended up saying the whole money comment that Demi made about him squandering his medical fund down at the like casino tables. He was Demi ends up saying, the only reason why I said that is because that is what Jen told me. Like, I wouldn't have just said that if no one told me that information. So you're telling me right now that you didn't, like, that wasn't your medical school money? Like, and Zach is hesitant, but then he ends up saying, no, that was a blatant lie. It was 100% blatant lie. Like, that was not her money. That was not my medical school money. So they're kind of like, girl, what? What you mean? What do you mean that wasn't the medical school money? So now Demi feels some type of way, because she's like, girl, what the heck? Like, the only reason why I was coming at your man so hard is because I was taking up for you. So then Jesse ends up saying, like, well, to be honest, the language she uses about you when we're around does cause us pause for concern. She calls you a narcissist. She tells us that, like, sometimes, like, she doesn't know if she wants to be with you or if this is the end. And they do show us flashbacks of Jen saying these types of things. saying that like she's never seen him really take accountability. And, you know, I know it's hard for people to take accountability, especially when they have narcissistic traits, which, you know, sometimes it could be the person's environment or it could be genetic. And what I feel like is Jen is just saying things that she's seen online. She don't really know if her man is really narcissistic. Like a lot of people throw out narcissism as if it's not a personality disorder that you have to get tested for. Like, I'm not saying people can't have those traits, but I'm like, Jen, if you go around saying that your man's a narcissist, what are you expecting these women to think about him? So now Jesse's in her confessional feeling like, you know, I've never really trusted Jen. Like, she's like, you know, I've always kind of been hesitant trusting her because now I'm wondering, like, are the things you're telling me something you sincerely believe, or are you just somebody who doesn't like confrontation? Like, you don't like confrontation, so you just tell people what they want to hear. Like, are you truly a trustworthy person? So they're just like looking at Zach like, well, maybe he really isn't the problem. And now all three of them are just looking at it like, okay, so Jen is playing all of us. She's playing both sides of the field. Because then Zach brings up this conversation of saying that, you know, well, she told me y'all haven't reached out to her, especially after Las Vegas and how hard that was for her. Jessie gets upset where she was like, that's a bold-faced lie. Like, we have texted her, but then she doesn't respond. She doesn't say anything. And I'm like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, what are we supposed to do with that? So now they're all just like, oh, okay. So basically she's trying to pit everybody against each other. And I said, ooh, Jen, it seemed like you got a lying problem, ma'am. So the next thing we have is with Taylor's family. And when I tell you, based off of Taylor's family, she needs to be in therapy, because for your mom and dad to be your biggest haters, you need therapy for that, okay? So Taylor pulls up to the house. She has baby Ever. You know, her sister's there. Her brother and her brother's girlfriend or maybe wife is there as well. I didn't catch what they put underneath her name. And so they're getting ready. Taylor's talking about how she's excited to go to Jesse's Halloween party. She's gonna dress up as Gretchen Wiener from Mean Girls. And the dad was like, so are you gonna be a slutty Gretchen? Already trying to dig at her, like pick at her. And she's like, no, I'm gonna be fully covered up. Okay. So then the conversation continues where the mom is like, oh, I wish I can go. And I'm like, oh, so you could definitely tell her mom was not cool. Like, she was not a part of the cool girls clique, because first of all, ma'am, you're in your 50s and you don't even give fun 50s. You know. So Taylor is like, the only reason you want to go is so you can talk to Miranda and Chase and hang out with them. We find out that Taylor's mom is a realtor who helps. I think she sold the house to Miranda and Chase. And so then her sister, who seems to be her biggest supporter and the only person she got in her corner, ends up being like, why do you even want a relationship with them? And the mom was like, well, I'm not going to just be mean to them. And the sister is like, no one's telling you to be mean to them, but why would you want to be cool with them knowing that they don't like your daughter? And I'm with the sister, because my mama would never, okay? She would never. So next thing you know, Dakota gets there because Taylor breaks up, you know, the tension between her mom and her sister. She's like, you know what? I got too much on my plate. I'm not even going to worry about that. Dakota gets there. It's awkward, like very awkward. So they sit down outside. Taylor is very quiet. She's not talking. So the mom is like, okay, so what's up with you two? Like, are y'all together? Are y'all not together? The merry-go-round is exhausting for this family. Like, what is it? So then the dad ends up saying, like, let's be obvious. You guys started out and your relationships, like the foundation of your relationship was trash. Like, it was like y'all really didn't have any solid foundation and y'all shouldn't have been together. So then he was like, let's be honest about the divorce. Like, that is why we told you to wait. Like, you needed to heal before y'all got together. Then he points to Dakota and he's like, and you got a lot of baggage. Like, y'all shouldn't have been together, you know? And so then next thing you know, Dakota starts getting emotional and starts crying. He was like, you know, this is a lot for me. So then Taylor's brother chimes in and he's like, you know, relationships are 50-50. He said relationships aren't 50-50. It's 100-100. And honestly, y'all's relationship is very lopsided, and y'all need to like learn how to, I guess, compromise, or at least see the other person's point of view. So then Taylor ends up saying that's why she wanted space, because she was like, she knew they needed space in order for us to figure out where they were going to go from here. So then it gets real bad, because when I tell you, this whole entire scene got extremely cringy after that, because Taylor started cussing and saying that this man effed her in front of her parents. And I said, girl. So Dakota ends up saying, like, the girl that he was messing with, I guess, with Jenna. Dakota was like, the only thing that happened between me and Taylor was like, we had only hung out by that time like maybe 2 or 3 times. Like, we weren't really dating, we were just hanging out. But then Taylor was like, yeah, we were hanging out, but then you came over to my house and you effed me, and and then the next day you came back and you effed me again. And so everybody at the table is like, Taylor. So then the dad is like, can I tell you something? And she was like, and I want you to hear me when I say this. What does that say about you, that you only had met this guy and only had been in his presence 3 times and you had sex with him? And then Taylor's like, that I'm trash. And everyone's like, girl, ain't nobody calling you trash. And I say, Taylor, you doing too much. You are doing too much. I said, first of all, and see, I feel bad for Taylor. I do. But I also feel like Taylor is in this constant state of victimhood. And when someone calls her out, she gets like, oh, I'm the problem. It's my fault. I did this. I'm a horrible person. And it's like, no one's calling you that. You feel like you're a horrible person. You feel like trash. Your self-worth is in the gutter. No one's saying that you're trash. No one's saying that you don't deserve love, respect, and kindness. What they're saying is you have to make better decisions. It is kind of crazy that you had only met Dakota 3 times and you hooked up with him. Like, that does say that you lack self-worth. Unless you was getting paid, okay? Like, unless he was at least dropping a good $500 in your hands each night after you giving him some stuff, then girl, I don't think, I don't like, why'd you do it? You know? So then Taylor's like, you're saying I'm trash, and I felt that way. I hate him and I hate myself. I said, whoa. So then she starts crying. So then Taylor's in her confessional saying she feels very judged right now. She feels like everyone's ganging up on her. She was like, it really hurts. And then the only person that was talking sense was her sister. Because then the mom chimes in and is like, Taylor, nobody thinks you're trash. No one is saying that you're trash, but let's be honest. Like, y'all weren't together. Like, he was dating somebody else. Y'all weren't together. I think right now where Taylor is at is like, she feels betrayed by Dakota because Dakota was not honest about the situation. Like, if he would have just been honest and like, yeah, I'm messing around with Jenna. Like, yeah, I'm dating her and I'm dating you. I think that is where Taylor is at, because Dakota keeps making it simple, like pretty much putting it out there. Like, I didn't cheat on you. Like, we were not together. And it seems like they weren't together. But what Taylor is really upset about is that he lied to her for basically 2 years about the situation when he could have just been honest. The sister starts getting emotional where she's just like, you know what, girl, you need to go to therapy. You two just need to remain separated. So I felt like the dad was a coward for getting up and leaving once Taylor started getting hysterical. I'm like, maybe that's a common thing that she does, but you just told your daughter to, like, girl, think about your self-worth, and you didn't think she wasn't gonna, like, freak out a bit. Like, you know your child. So him not coming back, I was just like, that's kind of a coward move. But then I'm also looking at Taylor like, is this a common occurrence with you? Like, when people try to give you real, like, critiques, you flip out like this? Because I think I kind of gave it a pass last season, because I was just like, this is a lot for her. But it's starting to feel like a pattern with Taylor. Like, when people call her out, she starts freaking out and be like, I'm trash, and you're just like, whoa, that's not what I'm saying. But again, only her sister is the one that has sense in this family. Next we see this scene with Zach and Jen, where pretty much Zach tells Jen what went down with his conversation with Jesse and Demi, and she was waiting for Zach to tell her that the girls, like, read him his rights and that they're in a good place, or that he apologized and they moved on. She was not expecting him to basically say that, like, no, girl, they're kind of mad at you right now. And so Jen is like, what do you mean they're mad at me? So he explains, like, well, girl, it seems like you've been lying. Pretty much. You've been telling people different stories, and different things. And the girls, we kind of put two and two together, and we realized you trying to play both sides of the fence. And so they mad. So now Jen is mad because she feels like the girls put Zach against her, because Zach basically says, like, I've never talked negatively about you to my friends. I don't know if I believe that, but he kind of has the upper hand right now. So now she feels like the girls are purposely like trying to cause tension in her relationship. I said, in my notes, I said, Jen is delusional. Jen is delusional. And when she said the girls are trying to turn my husband against me, I said, oh, girl, Jen is the type of girl you never want to be friends with. That, like, when they're in relationship drama and issues, they will be your best friend. Like, they will tell you all of their business. You will give them the best advice. And the moment they get back with their significant others, all of a sudden you become the problem. You become the issue, and you're trying to tear them apart. Girl, if I was if I was Jesse and Demi, I would never talk to Jen again. Because, girl, what you're not about to do is have me out here looking crazy when I was defending you based off of your husband's behavior while you was crying to me about how he was treating you. And now all of a sudden I'm causing dissension, and like I'm putting your husband against you. Girl, lies and fallacies. All right, y'all. So clearly you could tell that it's a new day. Yesterday I went to an event I was invited to, had a really good time. Okay. I thought I was going to be able to finish the video, but that did not happen. So here we are. Okay. I got back home hungry, tipsy, and tired. I ate and I went to bed. So here we are. So the episode continues, and we get this scene of Demi and Jesse and their husbands at Jesse's house. And we find out that they flew in a Chippendales instructor. They are basically, their husbands are learning a Chippendales dance that they're going to perform at the Halloween party. I think that's a really bad idea, okay? Because now that we know Jen and Zach are not in a good place, and y'all not in a good place with Jen, why are we doing this? So that makes me feel like maybe the conversation that they had with Zach, Demi and Jesse might have happened way at, like, you know, after this, but before the Halloween party, because there was tension at the Halloween party. But it feels like the scene was filmed out of sequence, or we're watching it out of sequence pretty much, because I don't understand why we doing this. They're trying to hide it under the guise of like, well, if Zach really has changed, he'll think this is funny and just laugh it off. Even the husbands are saying like, yeah, he will. And I'm like, that's not going to happen. He's probably going to have an attitude. Okay, and the fact that y'all aren't in a good place with her, she's going to have an attitude too, because they're going to feel like y'all are trying to make them the brunt of a joke. And no one likes that, all right? And not only y'all are doing this Chippendale situation, which is messy, you also have Chase coming, who we find out is for the streets. Okay, so not only did we find out that Jesse is inviting Chase to this party because she wants to be messy and know the real tea about the swinging situation, we find out that he's not only is he dating her friend Katie, but he's also messed around with Layla. So this man professed his love to Taylor while he was still married to Miranda, got a divorce from Miranda, dating Jesse's friend, and now we find out that he's also messed with another cast member, Layla. I said, girl, he is for everybody. He is rated E. E for everybody. Because, girl, what? Okay. So I'm just like, girl, Jesse, you want mess and confusion at your house. It's one thing to do this at like a party. Like if this was done like at a party at a different venue, that's one thing. But I feel like maybe because I think like your house is supposed to be like your safe space. And I feel like bringing chaos to your house, the energy be lingering. Okay, so I wouldn't have had all of this at my house. We would have had to do this, like, you know, maybe in the backyard. I don't know, but not inside my house where my children are at, you know? So that scene ends. We see the instructor come and all of that stuff, and they have a fun time dancing with him. We then get this scene with Whitney and her husband, Connor. I wonder how many times he's going to change his appearance like last season, okay? So we have Connor. We find out that she's almost ready to pop. She looked like she's ready to pop. But she realizes that the girls are still not very receptive to her being back in the group, being back a part of Mom Talk. So she's just like, you know, I can't really worry about that right now. I'm more worried about my child. And once I have the baby, then I can move forward with what I need to do. You know what I'm saying? So we then have a scene with Demi, Zach, Jen, and Jesse. And this is where I was like, oh, Jen, you lie. like it's giving you have a funny relationship with the truth. Like you a liar. Okay, that's what it's kind of giving, girl. Not kind of, it is giving that. So Demi and Jesse are uncomfortable. We find out that Jen called both of them up saying they'd be open to having a sit down with her and Zach, hashing out their differences, and they agreed to it. I think they have this sit down at Jesse's house. They come into the house. You can tell that Jen is already on one because she doesn't like the fact that now she's not the victim anymore. The girls are starting to look at her like she might also be a part of the problem of this marriage. So she was just kind of like, why did y'all tell Zach that I always speak about him negatively? And so Jesse and Demi are like, well, girl, honestly, the only reason why we have such this opinion about Zach is because of the things that you have shared with us. And they show footage of her last season talking about how their marriage goes through ups and downs. They also have what happened with the way that he texted you, and then you crying about how he's questioning your character. And then at the first event we see on episode 1, the cowboy pillow event, they have a scene of her where she's talking to them saying like, we're at the crossroads of, are we going to break generational curses or are we going to get a divorce? It's either or. So you're telling them that you're trying to break generational curses, and if that doesn't happen, you're getting a divorce. Why would they not have this opinion about him, Jen? That's why I think you're delusional, okay? So then Demi just incites how she's like, Jen is getting very upset, which makes me kind of feel like the things that we're questioning, we have a right to question, because why are you this upset? So as the conversation continues, Demi says, you know what? I just want a bit of clarification. Just a bit of clarification. When I said what I said about Zach squandering the money his parents gave him for medical school by gambling it, like, is that true or is it not true? Because I wouldn't have said that if you didn't tell me that. So Jen is like, well, and so Zach is like, let's be honest, it's not the truth. And she's looking at him and he's looking at her like, girl, like, let's be real. So then Zach basically said, no, that was money I made off of sports betting. So then this is where I was like, okay, Jen is lying, because next thing you know, she ends up saying, I think I clarified for you guys that wasn't like my money or his medical school money. Like, I don't remember telling y'all that it was his money, but I feel like I told y'all that it wasn't that. So now Demi is in the confessional being like, girl, WTF, Jen? Like, are you serious? Because, like, now you're telling me that he wasn't gambling his medical school money that his parents gave him. Like, that's the only reason why we were kind of coming at him really hard. Not only was he talking to you crazy, but he was squandering y'all money. And then Demi is in her confessional saying, like, you know, that was one of the big reasons why she was really worried for their marriage and their relationship, is because she was like, she thought that maybe Jen was possibly being financially abused, and like her kids and her were being put in a bad financial situation. But come to find out, he just betting money that he already made. So now Jesse and Demi are just looking at Jen like, girl, So she then lies again, where we also catch her in a lie when Jesse brings up, like, girl, we have been texting you. You're telling people that we haven't been texting you, and we have. And then you'll respond like 4 days later saying, thanks, love you, and nothing else. And Jen is like, well, that's only because, like, I didn't really feel like you guys really, like, we're really trying to reach out to really check up on me. So you're lying, because you told Whitney and you've been telling your husband no one has really reached out to you, only for you to confirm that the girls have reached out to you, but you didn't know if their intentions were pure. Girl, what? Are you serious? Are you serious? So now, like, Jesse's getting frustrated because she's like, girl, you're a liar. So then Jen tries to flip the conversation on Jesse and Demi, more specifically Demi, where she's like, you know, I've confided in you guys, I've told you guys things, and I've never tried to throw these things in you guys' faces. And I could bring up what happened in Italy, like everybody was there. I could say what happened. So then Demi's like, what happened, Jen? Like, what's like you putting it out there? Say what happened. Like, say what happened. But Jen doesn't say anything. And that's one of my pet peeves when people argue, when they're like, if you really want to go there, we can go there. No, if you're going to put it on the table, let's go there. Like, don't threaten me with a good time. Say what you got to say. So Jen doesn't say anything because she just put that out there thinking that it was going to stop them, but it didn't stop them. Because now they looking at her like, really, girl? Really? So they really don't get anywhere in that conversation. It's just real awkward and nothing really like happens. They just come to the conclusion that Jen is lying. We then get this scene of Jen and Zach. She's getting ready for the Halloween party. She wants to go as Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. I'm getting sick of her in this whole thing. And low key, Zach made her look stupid because he was like, we don't really know if we're cousins with Ben Affleck. And Jen is like, what do you mean? Your parents told me that. And I'm like, well, Jen, if you never saw him be invited to things, you've never seen like them mention things about him, then I would just think it's like a running joke. Like when people are like, oh, you know, Michael Jordan's my cousin. Like, you know, stupid things like that. Like, you look stupid. And the joke got stale very fast. So I'm just like, no, ma'am. But she looked kind of dumb, even though she was like, well, you told me that. And he was like, no, I told you to stop saying that. And now I'm kind of in the middle where like maybe Zach is telling the truth. Maybe she lying. I don't know. It just looks stupid. It's time for the Halloween party, okay? And you know, for the most part, it was a decent party. Some of the outfits were like blah. But I like when people have unconventional outfits. And a few of them I think to me, Miranda and her date had the best outfits. They were Mr. Krabs. She had like on a money leotard with a crab hat and crab hands. And then the guy that she was with, which I'm assuming might be her boyfriend or just a friend, he had on a Krusty Krabs like pizza outfit. I said, okay, y'all won. Because everybody else's outfit, I was like, y'all could have came harder. So we see Jessie, and she is giddy that there's about to be drama at her house. So we find out that they did invite Dakota, even though everybody knows that Dakota and Taylor are not in a good place, but they invited him anyway. We see a flashback where Jessie's husband's on the phone with him, and Dakota's just like, you know, she in a mood right now. She cussed me out. Like, you know how she is when she get mad. And they're like, don't worry about it, just come. So he's pulling up to the party. Jessie is also telling Layla and her boyfriend about how her friend Kate was telling Chase, like, I don't think we should go. And Chase like, no, I'm going to be there, because he wants to see Taylor and confront her. So Jessie is like, oh my gosh, like, you know, girl, it's about to go down. And then Layla's like, oh my God, he's such a freak. And then they talk about Dakota coming to the party and how Taylor's not going to be happy. Layla's like, well, Taylor and him need to grow up. And I'm like, well, Layla, we've never seen you with your husband. So do you need to grow up and show us how y'all co-parent? Because you was complaining last season. Y'all in a better place? Okay. So let's go through these outfits. So Jessie and her husband were Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez. I think they were the better version of the couple versus Zach and Jen, because Jen was dressed like J-Lo when she was with Puffy. And I was like, that's a different era, because Zach just looked like a regular dude, and he just put fake 5 o'clock shadow on his face. And I'm like, y'all couldn't do better, because you have Jessie and her husband. She has on, you know, a replica of J-Lo's iconic Versace green dress. And then her husband has on like a Dunkin' Donuts kind of outfit, because, you know, Ben Affleck was doing the Dunkin' Donuts commercial. So I thought that was nice. You then have Layla and her boyfriend dressed as race car drivers, very basic. Then Macy and her husband were dressed up as Aaron Samuels and Regina George. Lame. Then you have Michaela and her husband dressed up as Karen from Mean Girls, and her husband was the Burn Book. A step up from Macy and her husband. Then you have Demi and Brent. He's the milkman, and she's a bowl of cereal. I mean, I'll give you a B for creativity, okay? And then Taylor comes as a cat, as Regina George. And then, like I said, we end up having Miranda and Jake, and they're the Krusty Krabs. And I thought their outfit was the best. They were cute together. So Miranda is happy that she got invited to the Halloween party, because she feels like this might be an olive branch to give to allow her back into mom talk. So she's there. She's a little nervous, but she's there to have a good time. You could tell that Jen and Zach, once they get to the party and they notice that Jesse and her husband are dressed up as Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, they're kind of annoyed with it. Zach is like, Jesse's always like kicking up shit. Like she always wants to like do something messy. And I said, clearly she does. We then end up seeing Chase and what's her name? And Kate, they're dressed up as Hailey Bieber and Justin Bieber. I said, girl, that is not a cute combination because he don't seem to like that lady. Okay, she always seemed to be going through with it. Okay, so we also see Dakota get there. Dakota is trying to be on his best behavior because him and Taylor are not in a good place. So we see Chase walk up to Dakota. Mind you, Dakota feels like it's weird because Chase and Dakota don't like each other, but Dakota daps him up, he hugs him, and they have this conversation. Chase wants to get to it by telling Dakota, like, you know, I love Taylor, you know, she cool and whatever, but like, you know, that whole swinging thing, she really screwed us over. So you see Taylor sitting down with somebody else that's at the party, and Chase keeps pointing over in Taylor's direction, and she's starting to get irritated. Everyone's starting to get uncomfortable because they can tell that something's about to go down based off of Chase's energy. Next thing you know, we end up seeing Taylor get up and be like, okay, y'all keep pointing at me and talking about me. Let's talk about it. So they get into it. Although Chase was getting on my nerves because he kept pointing at Taylor, and his girlfriend had to come over there and tell him, like, stop pointing at her, like, put your finger down. And I'm looking at Dakota like, you need to tell him to put his finger down. Like, even though you and her aren't in a good place, he don't need to be pointing at her like that. And Taylor better than me, because I'd have told him, we gonna have a conversation, but you keep putting your hand and I'm gonna smack it out my face. And mind you, I'm short, I'm 5'2". I will smack somebody's hand out my face, okay? Especially if I feel like you're trying to be confrontational. I don't care if you're a man, get it out my face. Okay, so they start arguing back and forth. He's like, and Taylor's like, you want to play truth or truth? And when I tell you, the conversation got so chaotic, and even Dakota felt like Chase was lying about certain things. Kate starts crying on Miranda's shoulders. We find out Miranda and Kate are actually cool with each other. It was just a very like messy scene because it was so much going on. Basically, Chase was trying to say that like so I think Chase was trying to have a gotcha moment with Taylor, but Taylor, I will give her credit, has been very honest about what happened in the swinging thing. So when he was trying to be like, well, tell your truth, tell your side of the story, like Taylor was like, I've told everybody everything. He was like, yeah, I told them, because Chase was like, did you tell him about the dream? He was like, yeah, I told them about the dream. So he didn't have anything on her. So they were just arguing in a circle. It was getting very uncomfortable. And then next thing you know, Taylor gets upset with Dakota because Dakota isn't defending her against Chase. But honestly, I was looking at the conversation and I was like, Dakota, like, well, no, I wasn't like Dakota. I would have been like everybody else that was there, confused. The black guy that was standing behind them while they were arguing, he was a key. Because he was standing there like, oh my God. He was like, this how y'all get down. Because next thing you know, Taylor starts yelling at Kate, being like, so this your man? This your man? Your man's a liar. Your man's a liar. Your man's a liar. And then that's when she walks over to Miranda and starts crying, being like, I wish we wouldn't have come. I said, so yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic. Definitely hop down in the comments below and subscribe. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.